Hey guys, now this is one of two open forums that I have at the moment for Event 20. The other one's going to be on my Facebook page. Now, an Event Open Forum is basically where I introduce the subject to you, and you guys are free to comment and make an opinion about the subject in question, and make a comment on other people's opinions as well, without fear of getting deleted for any reason whatsoever. Now, the only exception to this rule, of course, is spam, and spam will automatically get deleted. Now, you can put in a video response or just a basic text response, and you can have other people comment on it that way. Alright? I will strongly suggest not to put up too many video comments in regards to the open forums, because then we start getting branching off. And it gets a little bit convoluted. Okay, now, the subject in question for this open forum has to do with a video that I found over the weekend. And I've actually linked the actual video here. Now, in the video, the person actually talks about the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, and he condemns it as a parade of sin. Now, as soon as he said that, I basically turned the video off, and I instantly got into messaging him, because apparently he turned comments off. He completely disabled all comments. So I asked him, what the hell are you going on about? And automatically he comes back and says, this says that it's wrong, this says that it's wrong, this says that it's wrong, therefore it is wrong, and turn back to Jesus. Now, of course, this message can be separated into two parts. His proof that it's wrong, which he provides a few verses in the Bible, which I automatically just said no. And then his claim to repent and come back to Jesus, which gives me a fairly solid opinion about him. And I will get to that in a moment. But in his evidence part, I noticed one verse in particular that he used that can be translated either way. The other two are fairly ambiguous in their own right. One, because it doesn't really say that much, doesn't really give that much of a solid evidence, and the other one because it was written by a man, a mere mortal, prophet though he may claim to be. But it's this verse in particular that I find fairly interesting, because it's a fairly ambiguous one, but it's one that gets twisted very easily. Right? Now, the verse itself is Leviticus chapter 18, verse 22. Now, I'm going to read this from the New Century Version, which I happen to have a copy of, but it pretty much says the same thing in all the other versions of the Bible. Right? And I'll quote this to you. You must not have sexual relations with a man as you would a woman. This is a hateful sin. Now, this verse in particular I find fairly interesting, and it's also a verse that actually gets repeated later on in Leviticus. Here we go, in Leviticus chapter 20 verse 14. If a man has sexual relations with both a woman, chapter 11 verse 13, I'll correct myself. If a man has sexual relations with another man, as a man does with a woman, these two men have done a hateful sin. They must be put to death. They have brought it on themselves. Now, both these verses say the very same thing, but way it gets translated is very, very different. Most born-again Christians or evangelical Christians or fundamentalist Christians believe it says, and I will paraphrase here, God hates gays. Now, to me, it seems to give a much different connotation. It seems to tell me that God is basically saying, alright, if you're going to have a partner, make sure you choose either one gender or the other, because you can't have both. Now, for those people who are thinking that I'm very much against bisexuality, that's not quite what I'm saying. Alright? Bisexuals, yes, are attracted to both, but when you're looking at a lifelong partner, you do kind of need to choose one. Okay? Yes, I'm very monogamous and monoamorous in that respect. Alright? You have to figure out which gender you're going to be with, because you can't really be with both at the same time. Alright? So you've got to pick which one and go with that. Alright? Now, other verses in there include Revelations, which does not really say that much in regards to what the sexual sins were. It says sexual sins, but it doesn't say what they are. So it's a fairly open one. And the other one is Paul's letter to the Romans, where he himself states that homosexuality is sin, but because it is the words of a man, without any real divine backing, he just comes out and says it and just does not back it up. It can be open for question. It can be left open for question. Now, this is where the open forum part comes into play. What do you think of the entire sexuality and the Bible thing? Now, as I said before, leave your comments in the comment section below. If you want to submit a video response to this, you're free to, but do try and avoid it as much as possible, because we get too much branching in that case. Remember that this is an open forum, which means all responses, with the exception of spam, are acceptable. And you must remember that this will come with the risk of being commented on by other people. Okay, so go for your life, and I'd like to see the commentary that you come up with. Alright, see you guys later.